Libra, the interlude. We are opening to the energies of Libra as an esoteric group, using Master Dwalkul's teachings in esoteric astrology, the science of relations. Breathe deeply into the energies of Libra. As we open to breathe more deeply, those dynamic energies into our service as an esoteric healing group. For Master DK tells us that esoteric astrology is essentially the purest presentation of occult truth in the world at this time, because it is the science which deals with those conditioning and governing energies and forces which play through and upon the whole field of space and all that is found within that field. Before we begin, let us align as soul and as a group and see our group walking the golden path, approaching Master DK's study. The ivory door opens, and we see the 3 windows and Master DK guiding us, leading us forward in our understanding and eventual comprehension. We gather as a group with Master DK in the center. Assume the attitude of the observer. From that point, observe the personality below. Visualize the etheric body. See energy flowing freely up and down the etheric spine. Now consciously throw soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine, using indigo blue light, the synthetic light of the second ray. Then raise it slowly via the 5 centers up the etheric spine, then to the ajna center and crown, and up into the soul body. Visualize the light in your etheric body directed through the ajna center and the triangle of the crown, the ajna, and the Alta Major center, pouring into and connecting to the center, the group heart, held steady in the light by Master DK. See the beautiful flow of light and energy circulating in our group. And sound the soul mantra as a group. I am the soul. I am light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. We immerse our group consciousness into the light of Libra, the light of the seventh zodiacal sign on the reversed wheel, the light that moves to rest. This is the light that oscillates until a point of balance is achieved. It is the light which is distinguished by a moving up and down. This interlude in nature, humanity experiences balance at the golden hour of sunrise and sunset each day. At the March and September equinoxes, vernal and autumnal, with spring and fall, the great natural cycles that signal the shift in the seasons in the northern and southern hemispheres. Our planetary logos, the one in whom we live and move and have our being, continuously moving north to south with the balance at each equinox and the light oscillating, moving up and down. The midway point, that point where the highest and the lowest meet. Those in the southern hemisphere, this equinox signals the balance of dark and light, emerging life bursting forth on the physical plane. The northern hemisphere repeats that point in Aries. We are on the Libra-Aries axis. Let us each align in our own being as a soul-infused personality at our point of focus within the planetary life as a stable point of light, and sound this mantra. I am a point of light within the greater light. I am a strand of loving energy within the stream of love divine. I am a point of sacrificial fire focused within the fiery will of God, and thus I stand. I am a way by which men may achieve. I am a source of strength enabling them to stand. I am a beam of light shining upon their way, and thus I stand. And standing thus revolve and tread this way, the ways of men, and know the ways of God, and thus I stand. Sense, see, and know the group assembled and those with us from the other side of the veil, standing in this circle of meditative study, contemplation, and learning based on what we have been given from Master Dwell Cool. The key words for Libra on both the ordinary wheel and the reversed wheel, DK tells us, so beautifully express the point of balance and equilibrium found in Libra. On the ordinary wheel, and the word said, let choice be made. As man moves on the ordinary wheel clockwise from Aries to Pisces through the signs to Libra, choice is made in Libra at the balance point. And in Libra, the wheel can be reversed. And in Libra, at that point of rest, where I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force, we prepare for the tests and trials of Scorpio. Yeah, would you read for us the next few slides?
Let us stand together at the midpoint, finding balance on the mutable cross. And as a group, equilibrium on the fixed cross. We sound the mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and we are one with them. We seek to love, not hate. We seek to serve and not exact due service. We seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. In opening to the energies of Libra as an esoteric group, we endeavor, as we have in each zodiacal sign, to lift our consciousness under the law of abstraction, thus preparing for the incoming age. We intend to grasp, as best we can as a group, the fundamentals of the science of relations, this new astrology, integrating the teachings of Master DK into our service projects. Master DK's teachings, the ABCs, as DK says, are particularly applicable in expanding our telepathic rapport as we serve as trained observers and prepare to become part of the new seed group of magnetic healers.
Aria.
Themes and qualities in the sign Libra. Libra signifies the balance of desire, the opposite objective to desire, and therefore is symbolized by the scales or balances. Libra, the Christ of balance, the crisis of balance. the emergence of the sense of self-direction and equilibrium. It is the point of equilibrium between soul and form. It signifies the emergence of free choice. It is consciousness of duality and therefore to balance the two. In the days before, Leo Virgo were divided into two signs. Libra was literally the midway point. The situation was then as follows: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, for Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Let us visualize our group as the midway point. Establish greater equilibrium in your own being, and we balance the two choices and move up and down, oscillating on the vertical axis of Aries Libra, preparing for the tests and trials in Scorpio.
Visualize the path up on the air, fire, and nexus. Equilibrized consciousness is a Shive and Libra.
Visualize our group achieving this equilibrized consciousness in Libra.
Balance on the mutable cross. Equilibrium on the fixed cross. Balance is an inward experience for a person, a group, a nation, humanity as a whole in this era on the forerunners.
Balance must be achieved in order to move forward. Yvonne, would you read for us, please?
The airy triplicity of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius bring the group forward from awareness of the opposites in Gemini to the balance point in Libra, and finally to equilibrized universal consciousness in Aquarius. The airy triplicity, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. In Libra, Part 3, on October 14th, we will contemplate the important triangles involving the balancing energies of Libra. Contemplation. Libra relates us as a group to contemplation, the third stage of meditation. Life of the soul and form is balanced. Neither dominates. Equilibrium is the state of consciousness, an interlude wherein the soul organizes itself for battle and the personality waits. This is the probationary path. Duality is known. Interlude. The sun falls in Libra because neither the personality nor the soul dominates in the man who is pure Libra. A balance is achieved, and thus they esoterically tune each other out. Neither the voice of the personality nor of the soul is heard particularly, but, as the old commentary puts it, a general oscillation now proceeds. No strident note is heard, no violent coloring of the life effects. I know not how else to translate the original phrases, and no upsetting of the chariot of the soul. This DK tells us applies most clearly to those at the midway point, preparing to reverse the wheel. A quiet life of contemplation, in contrast to the effect of Libra for one on the reversed wheel. On the reversed wheel, the energies of Libra can be seen or experienced in a progression as unbalanced, fiery passion, human love, Libra, on the path of probation. The weighing of the opposites, devotion and aspiration, is Libra on the path of discipleship. Attaining that point of balance and entering into a state of equilibrium, we say together, within the circle of the will of God, I stand. Without the radius of the world of glamour, I take my place and there I stand. Before the open door that just reveals a different lighted way, I take my stand. Before the presence, I will take my place and there will firmly stand. And standing, see.
Let's look back and make a note. Do you see yourself and the groups that you're in, whether it's family, community, study groups? Where do you stand? On the path of probation, where we're told we gain control of the physical plane. We gain control of that fiery passion, and human love transmutes and begins to become the light of the soul. Stepping onto the path of discipleship, learning to weigh the opposites with devotion and aspiration. These are the first two stages of the Libran experience, accomplished in the interlude of focus, focusing on the higher and moving towards soul and soul fusion. Where do you stand? Within the circle of the will of God, without the radius of the world of glamour. We follow the lighted way. And standing, see. Yvonne.
The midpoint, the balance on the mutable cross, equilibrium on the fixed cross, the reversal of the wheel results in balance attained, divine love, understanding, Libra, path of initiation.
The goal.
Libra is sometimes called the place of judgment, For it is here that the decision is made and die is cast, which separate the sheep from the goats, or those constellations ruled by Aries, the ram or lamb, and those ruled by Capricorn, the goat. It really marks the distinction between the ordinary wheel of life and the reversed wheel.
Pause and consider. Where do you stand? Where do we stand? In opening to the energies as an esoteric group under Master DK's teachings, part of the ABCs, as DK says, we should be aware of the decanates, particularly important in understanding the reversal of the wheel. Each sign is divided into 3 parts, each 10 degrees. Let us look briefly at the decanates in Libra and the ruling signs, which play an important part in the reversal of the wheel and progressing along the way in these stages: probation, discipleship, and initiation. Heike, would you be able to read this slide for us?
True rulers of the decanates in Libra are Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. I need not enlarge upon their effect, except to point out that the result of the Jupiterian influence is to open the door of the womb in Virgo. Decanate rulers, ordinary wheel clockwise rotation. I choose the way that leads between the 2 great lines of force. Christ in you, the hope of glory, the higher keywords of Virgo. One is the first ray and
The
second ray.
Yeah,
Third ray.
Yeah, Jupiter is the ruler of the first decanate on the reversed wheel. So what he tells us is that at that point of choice, Virgo switches directions and Jupiter allows the opening of the door of the womb into Libra. And then the second decanate is ruled by Saturn, that planet of opportunity, of karma and dharma. And the third decanate in Mercury. So this year we're looking at these beautiful influences of the decanates on the reversed wheel. We're in the first decanate of Libra now. The opportunity for us as a group to open the door of the womb in Virgo, that Christ may emerge and we become the hope of glory. In the second decanate, on October 7th, we'll look at the path of discipleship and the role of Saturn. And in the third decanate, we will look at Mercury and that higher vibratory influence on our planetary logos from a hierarchical perspective and what that means for us at this point of decision and choice. Heike, would you read this slide, please?
The third ray and the seventh ray. Planetary rulers in Libra. Venus, then Uranus and Saturn.
We think of these in terms of where's the point of emphasis in terms of that great stream of energy from Venus onto the probationary path. What is the great influence of that great planet of change and transformation, Uranus, on the path of discipleship? And what is the importance and the great influence of Saturn on the path of initiation? Choice is made at each point, influenced by the third ray and the seventh ray in Libra. The fifth ray comes into play on the path of probation in Venus. Thus, our emphasis on study. In Uranus, meditation. In Saturn, service. Study, meditation, and service. Heike.
Ray 3, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Libra is found relatively inactive in the triangle of Ray 3. Today there is no true balance, but the opposition of spirit and matter is so violent that the Libran force is relatively quiescent. The third ray pours through into our system and our planetary life, is expressed by and is transmitted through the following constellations. Ray 3, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Yet, during the process of the crisis of orientation, the mental principle, the discriminating mind, is developed. And in this specific connection, not in a general connection, the emphasis is laid upon the influence of Aries, Gemini, and Libra. Under that influence, the man learns to overcome desire through experiment with and experience of every kind of desire and selfish impulse. Thus, gradually and with infinite pain, the human soul learns to function first as a member of the human family, and secondly, as a spiritual entity, the divine soul.
This teaching from DK is particularly important for us at this time where Libra guides the interlude for humanity as we're moving into the coming age. How often our experience points out this great pain that occurs. And if one stands as the observer, we see humanity beginning to learn to function as members of the human family, and the great stress and strain that it is putting on humanity at this time as we transition into the Aquarian age. We stand in spiritual being, and as the soul we serve. The emphasis in this crisis of orientation for humanity on the mental principle, on the discriminating mind, that midpoint on the mental plane, as we have learned in our studies. That is developed, and we will look at in part 3 the influence of this great triangle of Aries, Gemini, and Libra in moving us forward as a group and as humanity to overcome desire. Consider the experiments that we are involved with in terms of developing soul consciousness in humanity and eradicating our own personal desire, and any selfish impulse. Using a spiritual approach, the third ray, the throat center in Saturn, and the fifth ray, developed with the Venusian impulse, are particularly active for those upon the path of discipleship. How do we, as a group, utilize the influence of Saturn, the third and fifth rays, to develop the throat center on the path of discipleship? And how do those who are in this great group, the new group of world servers, who are on the path of initiation, develop the first and seventh rays? Reminding ourselves, of course, always that the second ray controls and dominates all the other rays. Let us utilize these ray energies in Libra and focus on a spiritual approach. Rita, would you read this slide for us, please?
Using a spiritual approach, the crisis of the burning ground, which is brought about through the activity of Uranus. This is entered through the free choice of the initiate, who makes his choice in Libra the point of balance, where usually the moment for the reversal of the wheel takes place. There the man has to decide whether to proceed as usual and according to custom, or reversing the wheel to pass through the burning ground to liberation. Before the door of initiation lies the burning ground, which all disciples and initiates must tread.
In Virgo, we did review the beginning words of the first rule for disciples and initiates. Within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light, let the group stand. The burning ground has done its work. The clear, cold light shines forth, and cold it is. And yet the heat evoked by the group love permits the warmth of energetic moving out. With the influence of Uranus, that great energy of transformation, at this point of balance in Libra, let us make the choice to move on the reversed wheel and prepare for the tests and trials of Scorpio. Ellen, would you read this slide for us, please?
The seventh ray brings into expression upon the physical plane the major pairs of opposites, spirit and matter, and relates them to each other, producing eventually one functioning whole. Through ray 7, we demonstrate on Earth the nature of that synthesis through the medium of the appearing form and the purpose of that underlying will.
The seventh ray is gaining increasing importance. Master DK tells us that every October and every March on the Aries-Libra axis, Master R gathers together his council of helpers, the masters and the senior initiates in the ashrams of the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th rays. Though he is the head of the 3rd ray of aspect and is in control, therefore, of the 2 rays of attribute mentioned, the 5th and the 7th, he does not himself wield these forces because he is one of the 3 heads of the hierarchy, and his work cannot be confined to the activity of any one ray. He works through the ashrams of these rays, but he himself works primarily in cooperation with the Christ and the Manu. On this axis, though, we have, through Libra, this sign intimately associated with karma and preparing us with the Saturnian influences that are exalted in Libra. We'll look more carefully at the way in which all the rays of attribute, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which fall under Master R and the Mahachohan, how these are going to be vitally important in the coming age, where we will begin to see this expression on the physical plane of the major pairs of opposites. And these will be demonstrated on Earth in a new synthesis. We as a group prepare for this synthesis, unified through our study, meditation, and service. In Libra, let us sound the words of power for the 3rd ray and the 7th ray. The highest and the lowest meet. Purpose itself am I. Ellen, would you read this for us, please?
The 3rd ray will is the producer of external synthesis in successive stages, carried forward from temporary synthesis until there is complete unification between consciousness and form, and later complete atonement realized between that which is neither consciousness nor form, but the creator of both and the relating principle of spirit matter. It will be seen how the above definition shows the function of the 3rd ray to be the will to initiate on the physical plane, that which will express divinity. That it defines not only appearance, but the revelation of that quality of which the appearance is the effect or result, and that inherent in these 2 propositions lies the 3rd, which states that this creative will is not only the cause of manifestation and the guarantee of achievement, but is also the proof of the potency of that life, which ever defeats and annihilates death.
There's so much in this teaching about the later complete at-one-ment, which is atonement. As you reflect and hopefully contemplate this important teaching, Remember, purpose itself am I as the power words, and that our planetary logos, the personality that is being fused and blended in the process of initiation of our planetary logos, is ruled by the third ray. That blending and fusing of this great being's mind, astral field, and etheric field to have a completely integrated being ready to fuse with the second ray soul, how that will begin to play out in the coming era, the Aquarian age. That will to initiate on the physical plane, and that will to express divinity, the goal of this planetary life. So we have at the top of this slide, Ray 3, the active intelligence that comes through Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, working through 5 planets, the moon, which we know is a thought effect. If you have not studied it, is one of the greatest challenges for those who have learned through traditional astrology, that it is a dead planet. And in many cases, it is veiling the energies of Vulcan, Neptune, and Uranus. And then we have Venus, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, that these are the 5 planetary influences. So Ellen, would you read this passage from esoteric astrology that begins in this?
Capricorn. In this divine expression of ray energy is to be found the key or clue to what is commonly called evolution. The emphasis is necessarily from the angle of the form nature and on the phenomenal side. Today, however, the evolutionary process can be considered from the 2 aspects of the evolution of form and the evolution of consciousness. Science and psychology contribute to this, a gradual developing whole or picture. But that which I deal with here is the evolution of that which is both consciousness and form, but which is more than either. That is, the one who wills to manifest and to know or to become a. It is this which lies behind and which is greater than the identity in time and space to which we give the name logos. I seek to for with the creative will, which is dynamically manifesting, consciously establishing contact, and persistently focused on the form, whilst time and space endure.
Such a beautiful passage that lays out before us this whole notion of this great field of space, which is an entity within itself and one of the primary principles of understanding the new astrology, that it is all connected, all moving. There is a great interplay, constantly moving out and moving forward. It's one of the deepest and most important concepts begin to grasp, that in the individual being, that constant movement, the circulation of all the etheric components in one's being is but a tiny reflection of the life of a nation, the life of the planet, the life of the solar system, and the life of all these greater beings, playing upon the evolution of our planetary force, and also playing into and through us. We are part of that whole. We're part of that great picture. If you'll just hold in your mind at this point, there are almost 9 billion humans in incarnation on this planetary life at this time. DK tells us consistently through his teachings that a great percentage is growing. Those who are on the probationary path, on the path of discipleship, and the path of initiation. Millions, in fact. We know so few. And on our studies of DK, he continuously reminds us that the new group of world servers is an immense growing group. And if you study those who are teaching on those other lines in psychology, teaching religious principles for the new religion, that it expands far outside our capacity to even participate, but to hold that thought that we are all aligned in this will, this creative will to dynamically manifest and consciously establish contact, which is persistently focused in form and the evolution of form. For that is the life in which we live and move and have our being. So we'll look in greater depth at this triangle of Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn in part 3. But briefly, DK tells us that this is the constellation that connotes the point of balance in the long relationship and interplay between the pairs of opposites. And it indicates the will to express in perfected proportion and harmony both the life of the spirit and the potency of matter. We'll talk in more detail about how this appears in form in terms of the group projects that are now being set forth as we begin to approach 2025. Many of us involved in those service projects. We particularly in terms of esoteric healing. Tia, would you read this slide for us, please?
It is also peculiarly instructive to study the rulers of Libra from the angle of orthodox astrology. Venus rules Libra, whilst, esoterically speaking, Uranus rules. Saturn is the ruler in this sign of that stupendous creative hierarchy, which is one of the 3 major groups of builders. forming part of the third aspect of divinity. Their goal is the giving of form to the sons of mind, and thereby offering opportunity for sacrifice and service.
We'll look at those rulers in more depth: Venus, Saturn, Mercury, the planets of importance, as we look in the second decanate to the path of discipleship. That will be on October 7th. Just a reminder that DK tells us that we need to integrate into our understanding the creative hierarchies, these states of being. And in Libra, we have the lesser builders, the triple flowers, the color green, and again, the planet Saturn. But maybe most importantly, this energy, the force of mind. That force of mind is powerful on the atomic plane and does relate on the higher levels to the fifth initiation. And just a reminder that DK tells us that he, when he was doing his writings to us, had become a fifth degree initiate. Thus, his writings are so potent in the way they display this force of mind, which is off-putting to many. But we really need to think about this in terms of the state of being of these lesser builders and the gratitude we have for the teachings, the study that we can do, and the integration into our meditation of this great force and power. And it is related to Saturn and the importance of the impact of Saturnian energies along the way can't be understated. So we'll contemplate this in part 2 and look at it in relation to the 3 paths. Would someone like to just open their mic and read the next 2 slides for us? If you've not had an opportunity to read yet and would like to.
Through Saturn and Venus, Capricorn is connected with Libra and also with Gemini and Taurus. And these 4 constellations, Taurus, Gemini, Libra, and Capricorn, constitute a potent quaternary of energies, and between them produce those conditions and situations which will enable the initiate to demonstrate his readiness and capacity for initiation. They are called the guardians of the 4 secrets. Libra guards the secret of balance, of equilibrium, and finally speaks the word which releases the initiate from the power of the lords of karma.
And in this case, DK is talking about what is the real first initiation, which we call the third. Would you continue, please?
Libra is consequently closely connected with the third aspect of the Godhead, and hence it is a governing sign and a major conditioning factor where law, sex, and money are concerned. Ponder on this. All the 3 divine aspects in themselves are triune, and manifest in three manners or through three lesser aspects. And this third aspect is no exception to this rule, underlying all the triplicities which condition the processes of evolution and manifestation. It is through a study of Libra that light upon the third aspect will come. I assert the fact, life. The first aspect of will or power expresses itself in this sign as law, as legislation, legality, justice. Let us sound the first part of the mantram of the disciple as a group, recognizing the first aspect of divinity, the essence of this statement. May the power of the one life, anchored in the heart center, pour through the group of all true servers.
I'll read this one and then ask you to go forth. The judicial system is ruled and conditioned by Libra, and this will be increasingly the case. Libra governs the legal profession and holds the balances between so-called right and wrong, between negative and positive, and also between East and West. When the true and right relationship is established between the Orient and the Occident, which is not yet the case, it will come about through the activity of Libra and the work of the legal profession. For those of you working with the souls of nations, think about the United Nations and the role of the United Nations in establishing this judicial system that is set up, that is potentially a point of balance and true and right relationship can be established. Libra has been the sponsor of the law. Legislation has hitherto been engrossed with the enforcing of negations and those attitudes of fear which have been preserved for us and imposed through the medium of punishment for infringement. It is beginning to dawn upon the public consciousness the inculcation of right relations and the spread of self-control and the growth of unselfishness. And these surely are the goal, subjective and oft unrealized, of all legal procedure, are the needed approach to the young, pointing to the importance of the development of our educational systems that he speaks to so eloquently in Education in the New Age. Would you continue, please?
I see the greatest light, soul, consciousness. The second aspect manifests as the relation between the pairs of opposites, of which the scales are the symbol, and upon the physical plane shows itself as sex, the creative aspect, the fashioner of the body. The relation between male and female physical bodies, called by man the sex relation, and deemed of such paramount importance at this time. In the veil of illusion, the symbol often grosses attention, and that which it represents is forgotten. In the solving of this relationship will come racial initiation, and it is with this that the race is now engrossed.
Ponder on this, that what we have experienced in terms of the evolution of the consciousness, the soul consciousness, through this creative aspect, which is the fashioner of the body, what we know of it eclipses the real significance and what it really represents. Hold in your consciousness this marriage or integration of spirit and matter through the creative aspect, creating a new body of form in which we see the greatest light.
Let us sound the second part of the mantra of the disciple as a group, recognizing the second aspect of divinity, the essence of this statement. May the love of the one soul, anchored in the head center, characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones.
We stand at that midway point.
Purpose itself am I, active intelligence. The third aspect demonstrates as concretized energy, and we call this money. It is literally gold, and this is the externalized symbol of that which is created by the bringing together of spirit and matter upon the physical plane. The third aspect is, as you know, the creator aspect, and the energy which produces the outer tangible plane manifestation, the form side of life. Let us sound the third part of the mantra of the disciple as a group, recognizing the third aspect of divinity, the essence of this statement. May we fulfill our part in the one works through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech.
Envision every exchange of concretized energy, this creative intelligence, with pure self-forgetfulness, utter positive harmlessness, and right speech. It is the harmlessness that springs from true understanding and control of the personality by the soul that leads inevitably to spiritual expression in everyday life. It emanates from a capacity to enter into the consciousness and to penetrate into the realization of one's brother. This is the practice of telepathic rapport, soul to soul. And when this has been accomplished, all is forgiven and all is lost sight of in the desire to aid and to help. Blend with thy brother's soul and know him as he is. Only upon the plane of soul can this be done. Elsewhere, the blending feeds the fuel of his lower life. Then focus on the plan. Thus will he see the part that he and you and all men play. Thus will he enter into life and know the work accomplished. I assert the fact, life. I see the greatest light, consciousness. Purpose itself am I, active intelligence. The three rays of aspect. If students will therefore make a careful study of these three, law, sex, and money, as they express themselves today and as they can express themselves in the future, with soul consciousness guiding, they will have a picture of physical human achievement and of future spiritual expression, which will be instructive and most worthwhile. The whole process is accounted for by the activity of the three rulers of Libra, Venus, Uranus, and Saturn. The triangle of the three aspects of divine life that we will look at in more detail. Taurus, natural law, Libra, natural affinity, and Capricorn, the concrete expression of the law of supply. I encourage you to focus on those higher definitions. Libra, natural affinity and right relations. Capricorn, concretized energy, the expression of the law of supply. And Taurus, natural law. Essential to work with the triangle and not with a single sign and the single planetary ruler alone, but with it as a triangle of spirit that then moves into the quaternary that expresses in manifestation. These three aspects of divine life we reach to touch as intuitive impress in every group alignment through our healing practice. Will, love, pure reason, and intelligence as we reach toward the spiritual triad. Master DK tells us that the study of symbols opens the door to the intuition. That is why in this series, Opening to the Energies, to what extent we can, we do not use the human form as a symbol. For we reach to the Buddhic plane, the plane of the intuition. We experiment with symbols. We study and meditate to find those symbols that carry the greatest meaning and elevate our consciousness. Experience the symbols. Visualize. Allow the images to change, expand, contract, and animate, as many are following with Dwayne Carpenter's series, with his animations to awaken the higher mind, to impress on us ideas that come from the plane of intuition. DK says that symbols can be the mode of awakening the intuition, which is on the higher plane that we seek to embody. There are many ways in which the intuition can be drawn into activity, he says, and one of the most useful and potent is the study and interpretation of symbols. Symbols are the outer and visible forms of the inner spiritual realities. And when facility in discovering the reality behind any specific form has been gained, that very fact will indicate the awakening of the intuition, the awakening of group mind, intuition on the higher plane. See the symbols move, blend, fade, change in expression of color, the veil, DK says, but also indicating the rays. We follow the path to find the midway point, the point that leads in two directions. The study of symbols tends to bring this about, and when carried out with faithfulness, he says, and diligence, produces three effects: trains in the power to penetrate behind the form and arrive at the subjective reality. It tends to bring about a close integration between soul, mind, and brain. And when this is brought about, the inflow of the intuition and consequently of illumination and truth becomes more rapidly possible. It will put a strain upon certain unawakened areas in the brain and arouse into activity the brain cells there found. And this is the first stage in the experience of the aspirant. With the majority of true aspirants, the center being between the eyebrows is awakened. The ajna center, the directing center, whilst the center at the top of the head is vibrating very gently, but is not in full functioning activity. This higher center must be awakened more fully before aspirants can measure up to their full opportunity. Thus, in our work in opening the energies, we study the science of centers, and we will do that in more regularity as we progress through this year. Remember the foundations of our meditation, study, and service. Energy follows thought. We act as if. We use the creative imagination and visualize. We experiment, we experience, and we express through our service the integration we are achieving as an esoteric group. Cancer admits the soul into the world center, which we call humanity. Capricorn admits the soul into conscious participation in the life of that world center, which we call the hierarchy. Libra admits the soul on the cardinal cross into the world center, which we call Shambhala, for it is the polar opposite of Aries, which is the place of beginnings. Libra demonstrates the perfect balance of spirit and matter, which first came together in Aries. This balance and this relation of the great opposites, spirit and matter, is symbolized for us in the personality situation of balancing the pairs of opposites on the astral plane and finding between them the narrow, razor-edged path which leads the man into the kingdom of the soul. Balancing the pairs of opposites on the astral plane. In part 2, we'll look again at some of the many instructions regarding the astral plane and the context of the Akashic record in relation to our planetary life. We will review the firm demand that Master DK places on the shoulders of his disciples to dissipate glamour and dispel illusion on the individual level in order to work in group formation and move forward together on the path. Libra offers us the opportunity in the second decade with Saturn as the ruling planetary influence to open to these energies and strengthen our group integrity and our resolve to hasten the healing of humanity. Group consciousness will be seen, and the power to identify oneself with the group and not with one's own selfish interests will be achieved. The new group of world servers standing at the midway point between the spiritual hierarchy and the world of men are the agents of this process and can lead men out of the crisis which it has brought about. This new group, as we stand with them, are expressions of the intended goodwill and a leavening force in their environment. Each of you are that expression of intended goodwill and a leavening force in your environment. As members of the new group of world servers, we do and say nothing that would increase the existing cleavages among people, races, and religions. We stand at the midway point. We stand in spiritual being, and as the soul we serve, we stand within that light. In Libra, the light that moves to rest. This is the light that oscillates until a point of balance is achieved. We always stand at the midway point, the point that reaches out in two directions. It inward leads to the high place, Shambhala, the place where dwells the soul of the world. It also leads outwards into the world of glamour and illusion. Here we stand at the midway point, within the fire of mind, focused in the head's clear light. Heike, would you lead us as we close with the great invocation, standing together in spiritual being at the midway point?
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Om. Om. Om.
As you move forward, as we move forward together in these energies, allow Jupiter and the Jupiterian energies to expand the Om that develops our telepathic rapport soul to soul. The Om developing our ability to stand as trained observers. And the Om to sound forth as we do our service on behalf of hierarchy to heal humanity in this time of crisis of orientation.